Now I'm going to go down here to our controls, and I'm going to do basically the same thing. Go down here, duplicate it, drag it below. One thing I want to do for certain is make sure our strap buttons are on that same layer. We have it selected. You can see that our strap buttons are part of the selection. I didn't talk about this earlier, but now is a good time to. When you have a marquee tool selected, whether it's the rectangular or the elliptical, you can hold down the shift key and you'll see, look at my cursor, you'll see the little plus symbol pop out. If we wanted to add to this selection, then you just hold down the shift key. We want to subtract from it, so we're going to hold down the alt key, and now you see the little subtraction symbol pop out. So if we hold down the alt key and drag around that, it releases that strap button from our selection. Same thing up here, because we don't want to create shadows for those, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'll close this out behind here. Don't need that open anymore. With this selected, we are going to go Edit, Fill. Probably sound like a broken record at this point, but what we've done is we've just filled that layer with black, and I'm going to call this Control Shadows. Makes good sense. I'm going to save that. So we're going to grab this shadow layer with the Move tool, and we're just going to move it slightly off axis here, about the same that we did with our pickups. That's nice. It's going to reach a little further once we add the Gaussian blur. I'm going to use the same level of blur I used on the pickups. Maybe bring it down a little more so it's not showing on the side of everything. And that's our shadows, and that looks pretty realistic for the knobs. Actually, I'm going to, because that's a little closer to the surface, I'm going to blur those a little bit more. About like so. That's pretty good, but we've got a little bit of a problem. This is a toggle switch with a handle sticking up off of it. We have a circular shadow here, and of course the ring that holds that to the top, it's not tall enough that it would really cast a shadow on the guitar, but that lever and the knob on it certainly would. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our selection tool, and we're going to select just that portion of the shadow. And again, if we move it one pixel or another, or a pixel one direction or another, Photoshop knows to just move the selection in. Alright, so with that selected and moved up there out of the way, I'm going to do Control T, which is transform, and I don't want to keep this in a circle anymore. I want to kind of make it to the shape of our knob that we have. I'm going to bring that back down and plant it right about there. And we'll do Control T again, and this time we're going to move outside and get our rotate tool, our rotate function, and make sure we line that up so it looks about like where the rest of our shadows would fall. Hit Enter to accept it. And that particular part of that, in reality, would be on, you could put it on its own layer. So if I cut that away and then paste it, Photoshop will automatically put it on its own layer, and I can move that around now. It's independent of anything else. There's nothing else on that layer. But in reality, that one shadow would be above that trim ring, like so, roughly. And our Control Shadows, we'll knock those down to about 50%, and we will do the same. I'm going to call this Lever Shadow. hope in the future I remember what all of these mean. And I'm going to bring that down a little bit. You can see it's still showing up on the ring there a touch. And that's just a little more, just a little touch of reality there that really helps sell the effect. Not necessary, but it certainly is more accurate than having the shadow underneath the trim ring. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to real quickly do the same thing with our bridge. Going to grab it, duplicate it, select it, fill it with black. Drop our selection, grab our move tool, and pull it out. It's a little maybe taller up on the top of the guitar, so it's going to show up a little more. Take our same Gaussian blur, going to drop it down to 50%. Alright, so we have all of our goodies in place. We've got our highlights, we have shadows. Everything appears to be in the proper order. One thing I'm seeing is we have our controls are actually kind of in the wrong spot, and the carve is actually in the wrong spot. It should bisect or cut through the center of those potentiometer shafts, but that's fine. I mean, for what we're doing here, it's okay. I'm not going to go back up that many steps to fix it, but it could affect this next step we're going to do, and that would be to add some highlight around our control rings. So we're going to go to controls, and again we want to subtract these from our selection. We don't want to do anything with them. We're going to go select, modify, expand, and we probably want to go, I would say 6 pixels or so, maybe 8. Select, modify, expand. We're going to go 8 pixels. Now, you know what? I'm going to go 10 just to give me some extra space to work with. Yeah, that's nice. We're going to go 10 pixels. We're going to come above our controls here. I apologize for the audio dropping out. When I turn my head, I get away from the microphone, but hopefully you can still hear me. Above the controls, I'm going to add a clean layer. I'm going to call this Control Highlights. And then we're going to make sure white is our foreground color. Edit, stroke. 2 pixels looks great. Going to drop that selection. And on this layer, we're going to add a layer mask. Our icon is telling us it's okay to draw on this. So we're then going to, keeping in mind that we have our highlights on the top there, going to try to get that same, I may have to back up down here to do it. There we go. Not quite what I'm looking for, but not bad. And you may find when you get in a situation like this that maybe a circular gradient works better, depending on what kind of gradual lighting effect you're going, or what subtle lighting effect you're going for. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to go ahead and just stay right there. I won't even have to adjust its transparency a whole lot. I do, however, want to go up and put a little bit of blur on it. Really kind of blow those out. Yeah, I don't know if it's even doing anything. Gonna go in tight so I can see this. Oh, well, there's the problem. I'm still working on my mask. I need to be on the RGB layer. So we go filter, blur. Oh yeah, that's blurring now. And we really just want this to be a reflection or a highlight from our lighting, so turn that back down. And I'm really liking that, so I'm going to save it.